tell me about some of your achievements in your last term or this current term, which is going on.
Well, the achievements in the last term, of course, it was interrupted because of 2 years of COVID.
How you convince them, or are you in favor of high-rise?
But I just want to point out, all we're doing is replacing the equivalent of an old car with a new car. We need another crossing.
What brings into your mind to running with the full team? Why you are running this time with the school trustees? Why it is important to run with the school trustees? But who is your biggest competitor in this case? ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਲੋਅਰ ਮੇਨਲੈਂਡ ਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਵੱਡਾ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਹੈ ਜਿਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਐਗਰੀਕਲਚਰ ਲੈਂਡ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਔਰ ਨਾਲ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਅਰਬਨ ਲੈਂਡ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੇ 'ਤੇ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਕੁਝ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ, ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਪਲੈਨਿੰਗਸ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਔਰ ਸਿਟੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਡੇ ਬਾਏ ਡੇ ਵੱਧ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਦੇ ਲਿਹਾਜ਼ ਨਾਲ ਕਾਫੀ ਪੀਸਫੁਲ ਮੰਨੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ, ਘੱਟ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਕਿਹਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ, ਪਰ ਡੈਮੋਗ੍ਰਾਫੀਜ਼ ਬਹੁਤ ਚੇਂਜ ਹੈ। ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਨਾਰਥ ਡੈਲਟਾ ਔਰ ਸਾਊਥ ਡੈਲਟਾ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰੀਏ ਤਾਂ ਡੈਮੋਗ੍ਰਾਫੀਜ਼ ਕਾਫੀ ਚੇਂਜ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਮਝ ਗਏ ਹੋ ਕਿ ਸਿਟੀ ਆਫ ਡੈਲਟਾ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਸਿਟੀ ਆਫ ਡੈਲਟਾ 'ਚ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਹੋਣੇ ਨੇ, ਸਿਵਿਕ ਬੋਡੀ ਦੇ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨਸ ਹੋਣੇ ਨੇ, ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੇਅਰਲ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਇਸ ਵਾਰ ਦੇ ਮੌਜੂਦਾ ਸਮੇਂ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੇਅਰ ਨੇ ਆਨਰੇਬਲ ਜਾਰਜ ਹਾਰਵੀ, ਉਹ ਖੜੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ ਔਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਲੇਟ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਖੜੀ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ, ਫੁੱਲ ਸਲੇਟ ਹੈ ਇਨਫੈਕਟ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਖੜੀ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ। ਔਰ ਅਜੇ ਤੱਕ ਕੋਈ ਹੋਰ ਵੱਡੇ ਨਾਮ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਚਰਚਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਆ ਰਹੇ। ਹਾਲਾਂਕਿ ਕੁਝ ਨਾਮ ਉਤਰੇ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਐਤਕੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੇਅਰ ਜਾਰਜ ਹਾਰਵੀ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਕਿਹੜੇ ਚਿਹਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਏ ਨੇ ਔਰ ਕਿਸ ਕਿਸਮ ਦੀਆਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਡੋਰ ਨੌਕਿੰਗ ਕਰਨ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ, ਆਪਣੀ ਕੈਂਪੇਨ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ, ਸੋ ਕਿਸ ਕਿਸਮ ਦੀਆਂ ਆਪਣੀਆਂ ਅਚੀਵਮੈਂਟਸ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਹੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਮੇਅਰ ਜਾਰਜ ਹਾਰਵੀ ਦੇ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਪੁੱਛਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਸਵਾਗਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ। ਗੁੱਡ ਮਾਰਨਿੰਗ ਮੇਅਰ ਹਾਰਵੀ, ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਸੋ ਮਚ ਫॉर ਜੁਆਇਨਿੰਗ ਮੀ।
Good morning, and thank you for inviting me here today.
So Mayor, first of all, you have a very diverse team. We're going to talk about your slate. First, tell me about some of your achievements in your last term or this current term, which is going on.
Well, the achievements in the last term, of course, it was interrupted because of 2 years of COVID. But I managed to ensure that we went through COVID coming out strong. We built very good relationships with both the federal and the provincial governments. And we're very lucky and very fortunate to receive sizable grants for COVID recovery from the province and from Canada. So we've done a lot. We've ensured that we weren't just staying still. We've got good development going. We've been fixing our roads. We've been doing our infrastructure. We just opened the Ladner lacrosse box with a full year-round cover now, which is not fabric, it's steel. Looks very good. And we want to do the same things in other areas of Delta where we can have our infrastructure used all year round versus just season.
What is your balance mantra for, because there are different demographies, Ladner, South and North Delta. What is your balance mantra to, interconnect all these, different areas? It is the one city, but when we are saying areas, there are different challenges of different parts. How you balance that?
Well, I was city manager for almost 20 years in Delta and recognize the fact that the communities are different. But as far as I'm concerned as mayor, we're one city strong. And we replace infrastructure when necessary or where there's pressure points, wherever it is in our community. But I want to emphasize we're one city. And we want to ensure that everybody in that city, where they have certain problems, we attend to it as promptly in other areas. So to me, it's about being one city and focusing on Delta. And that's how we look at it regionally. And we're also now, through my involvement with Metro Vancouver and TransLink, we're starting to receive attention, and that's so important. We have better bus services coming. We have improvements with regards to TransLink, improvements with regards to Metro Vancouver.
I think R1 is coming on the Scott Road as well.
Yes, and that's the first major piece of infrastructure we've had from TransLink in many, many years. But I must say I appreciate the cooperation with Surrey, with the Surrey Mayor Doug McCallum. When we're working together in TransLink or in Metro, we like to work together as south of the Fraser. That's where the strength is. That's where the growth is going regionally, south of Fraser. So Delta takes an important role in that.
Definitely, we're going to talk about the transportation, especially if you have any plans for the Skytrain to come into your city as well. But first of all, what are some major issues Delta is facing right now, according to you, apart from the COVID-19 recovery?
Well, when you have a housing problem, we have daycare problems. And we're addressing those now. So we actually had just a high-rise approved on the north end of Scott Road recently. And part of that requirements that we put on and that I asked for was to ensure that they're providing strata space that would be on city property so that we can put a daycare in there. And with the city owning that, we can then have daycare that is affordable for the people that need it. But definitely daycare, definitely transportation issues, and those are things that we're working on.
Mhm. When we're talking about the high rise, I know, so many old residents of Delta, maybe North Delta or South Delta. Some people are not convinced with this new terminology of high rise. How you convince them, or are you in favor of high rise?
I can tell you that we had at the beginning of my term a development on 75A that was in front of council for
Hmm.
over 3 years, and it was a very noted split in the community of those that were supporting it, those that were against it. The
Hmm.
generation of ages show that as the age groups that were older did not support it. The younger people did support it because they're trying to get in their first opportunity to own property.
Hmm.
And so what I did when that was over, and it failed, and through council voted it down. I did vote in favor of it, but I put together right away a mayor's task force, and it was
Hmm.
a mayor's task force on Scott Road. And so what I did was I chose people that applied, and a lot of people applied. I chose the equal amount that were for that project, previous project, and those that were against it. And we put it in the room, and we did it over 3 to 4 months on a very aggressive scale. We went from the south all the way to the north, and came up with a plan that everybody on that committee agreed to. And so that's what I'll be advancing, subject to being reelected and having my team there. I can't do this because I'm only one vote on council. With my team there, we can then ensure that that goes into our official community plan, and that will allow development to come in, and then we can actually have our growth. I believe our growth, because we do need growth, we do need more housing, should be along their major transportation corridors. That's Scott Road, Ladner Trunk, 56th Street, and Tsawwassen. That's where I want to see the growth concentrated, not inside so much our residential communities, but along those major transportation routes. We could do more number of new units by going in the major transportation corridors than we could do house by house by house.
But do you think that high rise building concept is a one of the solution for housing affordability?
It's one of the solutions, but it doesn't mean to say it's going to be all along Scott Road. And
Because there's going to be some challenges along with this as well, especially schooling.
Well, our schools have spaces now. Are the schools full? Yes, but they're also from out of Delta students. In order that we can keep our teachers and everything, that we have to have, of course, try to fill those spaces. But there is lots of space in our school systems for growth that we envision.
What are your thoughts about Skytrain? Are you having any plans or in your mind having any kind of dream to get Skytrain in any of the areas?
Well, we have the George Massey Tunnel replacement, and one of my visions that I've mentioned before is turning Highway 99 into a green corridor so that we can have, and not the typical bus up to date, but it's a typical bus that's being developed now in the States, which we can then have fast transportation. But talking about the tunnel, and it's been a subject that just won't go away. We need something there. The best before date of that tunnel is getting very, very
That
close.
was actually my question. Why
Very
it is
close.
still a
The
issue?
because it's not Delta's asset, our Richmond's asset, it's the province's asset, and they're the decision makers. And when they decided not to do the bridge, was I disappointed? Yes. But I quickly put together a team of the mayors and the First Nations chiefs along the 99 corridor to say, hey, we have to work together. It's not what I really want, it's what we can do to ensure that that corridor is going to be preserved. That is a major trade corridor, major commuting trade corridor, ferries, ports, all those things. So that's actually environmental assessment is going on now. And I want to ensure that that is built as soon as possible, built properly. And I also want to make sure there's no tolls. That's my goal.
That's great.
But I just want to point out that all we're doing is replacing the equivalent of an old car with a new car. It'll have new bells and whistles, but is it going to increase the transportation? No, because the additional lanes will be consumed very quickly by the growth that's happening south of Fraser. We need another crossing. That's what
So
we need
what
to
kind of crossing is in your mind? Like, what do you need? Do you want another bridge along with the this tube, or is there something else?
I need as one member of Metro, working with the South of Fraser group and other members in Metro Vancouver and directors. We need to start looking at a plan. Nothing happens until something's ready to fall apart. That's what we got to stop. We've got to say to to the Metro Vancouver, let's vision for it now. Let's plan for it now. And if it takes another 10 years or something that's going to be built in 15 years, at least all the groundwork is done. And we know where the growth is going. We know how the transportation is going to be improved, but we need another crossing of the Fraser, whether it's for vehicles or just for Skytrain. That's what has to be studied.
But you yourself, as a former bureaucrat, and you have enough, in-depth knowledge about the city's working, and you are a mayor as well. Why correct me if I'm wrong, why the province is not taking your advice into this?
Well, it's because to me, it's about being a politician. Just can't be a politician active within their term of office. They need to step out of that 4-year gap in that 4-year period and start looking at the future. And that's what I've got to push, because I'm relatively a new politician, but I'm still one who wants to get things done. I'm still one that knows that this is a gap that needs to be fixed. And I hope that I can pressure the provincial and the federal governments to start looking at planning for the future.
How's your relations with the provincial government? When we're talking about you, that means the city of Delta.
Well, as a mayor, I don't belong to any political party. And my job is to work with who's ever elected. So do I have contacts in the Liberal Party? Yes. Do I have contacts in the NDP Party? Yes. Do I have contacts in Ottawa? Absolutely. But I have to work who's ever elected. And that's what I've done. And our relationships are very solid.
What are your thoughts on ALR? As we were talking about the affordability, the housing affordability, and we both agree on this thing, that high-rise is just one solution, one of those so many solutions when we're talking about housing affordability. What are your thoughts on ALR?
Agricultural Land Reserve?
Yes. Do you think that some of the land should be given to the commercial developments?
No, I'm a very strong supporter of the Agricultural Land Reserve. Food security is a concern that we all have, and that should be one of our principles. I believe the LR has worked extremely well, and as far as I'm concerned, I want to see the land that's in the LR in Delta, and there's a very small amount left that is not productive. I want to see what we can do to getting it productive. We need to ensure, and that's what COVID taught us. We got to rely on ourselves, not other countries. And the LR is going to play a significant and does play a significant role in that.
ਕੀ ਕੁਝ ਦੱਸਿਆ, ਕੁਝ ਚੈਲੰਜਸ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ, ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਮੰਨੋ ਕਿ ਪੂਰੇ ਦਾ ਪੂਰਾ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਇੱਕ ਹੈ। ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਡੈਮੋਗ੍ਰਾਫੀਜ਼ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਕਈ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਤੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਕਿ ਨਾਰਥ ਡੈਲਟਾ, ਸਾਊਥ ਡੈਲਟਾ ਜਾਂ ਲੈਡਨਰ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ, ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਪੂਰੇ ਇੱਕ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਮੰਨ ਕੇ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ। ਔਰ ਇਹਦੀਆਂ ਚੁਣੌਤੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੈ, ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਹੈ, ਕਈ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਚੁਣੌਤੀਆਂ। ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਖੁਸ਼ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗ ਰਹੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਟਨਲ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਮਾਮਲੇ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ, ਮੈਸੀ ਟਨਲ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਹ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਇੱਥੇ ਬ੍ਰਿਜ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ। ਸਰਕਾਰਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਖੁਦ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਅਜੇ ਇੱਕ ਨਵਾਂ ਪੋਲੀਟੀਸ਼ੀਅਨ ਵੀ ਮੰਨਦੇ ਆ, ਪਰ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰ ਫਿਰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਮੇਅਰਲ ਇਸ ਦੌੜ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਆਪਣਾ ਕਿਸਮਤ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਜ਼ਮਾ ਰਹੇ ਆ, ਔਰ ਉਮੀਦ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜੇਕਰ ਇਹ ਜਿੱਤਦੇ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਡੈਫੀਨੇਟਲੀ ਇਹ ਹੋਰ ਕਨਵਿੰਸ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਨਗੇ। ਪਰ ਇੱਕ ਚੀਜ਼ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਬੜੀ ਮਹੱਤਵਪੂਰਨ ਕਹੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਇਹ ਕਿ ਕ੍ਰੋਸਿੰਗ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਹ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਨਾਲ ਹੋਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਬਾਰ-ਬਾਰ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਬਾਕੀ ਸਾਰੇ ਲੋਕ ਵੀ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਆ, ਕਾਮਨ ਸੈਂਸ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ। ਆਈ ਡੋਂਟ ਨੋ ਕਿ ਵਾਈ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਦਿਸ ਥਿੰਗ ਇਜ਼ ਨਾਟ ਗੋਇੰਗ ਇਨਟੂ ਦ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਿੰਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟਸ ਬ੍ਰੇਨ ਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਆਲਰੇਡੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਟਨਲ ਹੈ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਰਿਪਲੇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਇੱਕ ਨਵੀਂ ਟਨਲ ਬਣਾ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ, ਕਿ ਇਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਆਪਣੀ ਪਿੱਠ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਹ ਥਪਥਪਾਓਗੇ, ਕਿਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕ੍ਰੈਡਿਟ ਲਓਗੇ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੁਛ ਨਵਾਂ ਕੀਤਾ। ਯੂ ਆਰ ਨਾਟ ਡੂਇੰਗ ਐਨੀਥਿੰਗ ਨਿਊ, ਯੂ ਆਰ ਜਸਟ ਰਿਪਲੇਸਿੰਗ ਅ ਟਨਲ, ਦੈਟਸ ਆਲ। ਸੋ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਨੇ ਜੋ ਉੱਥੋਂ ਦੇ ਲੋਕ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਜੇ ਉੱਥੋਂ ਦੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਪੁੱਛ ਕੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ, ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਦਰਅਸਲ ਇਹਦੇ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਰੀਜ਼ਨ ਕੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਕੀ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਸਿਰਫ ਇੱਕ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਬੇਸਡ ਪੋਲੀਟਿਕਸ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਣਾਉਣਾ ਜੋ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਬਣਾ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ, ਕਿ ਸਿਰਫ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਇਹ ਬਦਲਾਅ ਕੀਤੇ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ। ਖੈਰ ਇਹ ਸਵਾਲ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਅਲੱਗ ਹੈ, ਇਹ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਿੰਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛੇ ਜਾਣਗੇ। ਪਰ ਐਜ਼ ਫਾਰ ਐਜ਼ ਮੇਅਰ ਜਾਰਜ ਹਾਰਵੀ ਇਜ਼ ਹੇਅਰ, ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਲੇਟ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਅਗਲੇ ਕੁਝ ਸਵਾਲ ਪੁੱਛਾਂਗੇ ਕਿ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਕੁ ਡਾਈਵਰਸ ਸਲੇਟ ਹੈ, ਔਰ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ 'ਤੇ ਡੈਲਟਾ ਦੀ ਸਲੇਟ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਕਦੀ ਡਾਈਵਰਸ ਨਜ਼ਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਈ, ਔਰ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਜ਼ਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਈ, ਕੀ ਰੀਜ਼ਨ ਹੈ, ਇਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਵੀ ਕੁਝ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾਏਗੀ। ਬਣੇ ਰਹੋ, ਸੁਣਦੇ ਰਹੋ CKSP 600 ਸ਼ੇਰ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਰੇਡੀਓ, ਸਮੀਰ ਕੌਸ਼ਲ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ। ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਿਟੀ ਆਫ ਡੈਲਟਾ ਤੋਂ ਮੇਅਰ ਜਾਰਜ ਹਾਰਵੀ ਇਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਟੂਡੀਓ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨੇ, ਔਰ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਐਤਕੀ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨਸ ਹੋ ਰਹੀਆਂ, ਸਿਵਿਕ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ, ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਮੇਅਰਲ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਦੇ ਤੌਰ 'ਤੇ ਵੀ ਖੜ੍ਹੇ ਨੇ। ਆਪਣੀ ਟੀਮ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਅਚੀਵਿੰਗ ਫॉर ਡੈਲਟਾ, ਉਹ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਸਲੇਟ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਅਨਾਊਂਸ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ। ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਕੁਝ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ, ਕਿੰਨੀ ਕੁ ਡਾਈਵਰਸ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਕੀ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੁਝ ਸਾਊਥ ਏਸ਼ੀਅਨ ਚਿਹਰੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਸ਼ਾਮਲ ਨੇ, ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਸੋ ਮੇਅਰ ਹਾਰਵੀ, ਟੈਲ ਅਸ ਅਬਾਊਟ ਯੋਰ ਸਲੇਟ, ਹਾਊ ਮੈਨੀ ਮੈਂਬਰਸ ਯੂ ਹੈਵ ਇਨ ਯੋਰ ਸਲੇਟ and what they are running for.
Well, what I wanted to do was ensure that we had a full slate 7 for council and a full slate 7 for school trustees. And last time I didn't make up my mind to run for mayor until January of 2018, so we only had 2 to 3 months to put a team together. This year we've taken over 2 years to talk to people and select a team. And this team by far is the best team that's ever been assembled to run for school trustees or for council. And we have a common goal, being one Delta and working together. There's only one taxpayer, And we started to work very closely to the school trustees last term, and we're hopefully that we'll have the trustees elected from our team, and that we can continue to work together. Because my goal is that we ensure that we're using the school fields more properly, rather than tearing trees down and building new fields. We should be putting money into those fields. We've already started looking at the success of the track in the North Delta by working together. We have tracks to redo both at Seaquam and also at the Delta Senior Secondary. And the more that we can do by putting some of our infrastructure on the school lands under agreements with the trustees, keeps the dollars that come from the province to run the schools inside the classroom.
What brings into your mind to running with the full team? Why you are running this time with the school trustees? Why it is important to run with the school trustees?
For too many years, my 20 years as city manager, it was just a conflict with the school trustees before, and conflict. And it wasn't their fault, and it wasn't council's fault. It was just two political thoughts that never got together. And I always thought that's the way. So I came from Burnaby, where I was a deputy city manager my last 10 years. They worked very closely with the school trustees. They were all part of the same team, the Burnaby Citizens Association. I wanted to bring that concept into Delta, and so far it's worked very well, but this team is going to do extremely well. But we have to get the vote out, and we have to have support from our electorate.
I think right now you are the only one who is bringing full slate in City of Delta.
Yeah, and there's another interest. We want younger people represented. They can't afford to do it on their own. Just can't do it. And so our team is diverse insofar as cultural and ages and gender. It represents all of Delta. But again, we need young people they're the ones of the future. They're the ones I listen to about their needs for housing. I've got my house. I've lived the dream. But they are not living any dream at all. They need to have some help on housing.
If you can share some names and what they have done for the community, that will be very, helpful for the residents to make up their mind.
Sure. I'll go council, and you've mentioned myself. Rod Binder is a member of Parks and Recreation Commission from North Delta. Has been very involved with Delta Assist. He has a passion for looking after those that need help. We have Daniel Boisvert. He's from South Delta. He's many times he's a notary by profession, and has volunteered on very many community groups, through sports, etc., but in South Delta for a number of years. We have Jesse Dosange, a world-class track coach, and from North Delta. And he was a school trustee under our team before, and now he's moved over to council to take on the challenges that we have, and to ensure that recreation is supported by the city. Alicia Guichon, fifth-generation farmer from the farming family, and she was an incumbent. She's running for re-election, and she represents a very good voice of her age group. Jennifer Johal works in the Tilbury area and has family in Delta, and the taxes we receive from Tilbury and Annis is about 40% of our tax base. I need somebody to represent that industry, that number of taxpayers, and she's that person, and she'd be really good at doing that. And Dylan Kruger, he's on council now, and another young person, and he's done extremely well on working together on very important things on housing. Both Alicia and Dylan were part of the Mayor's Task Force on Diversity Inclusion. And so they've done a really good job. Erica Beard on school trustee. She's an incumbent. She was on our team last year and is on our team again. She's a nurse, has a young family, represents growing families in Delta. We have Nimi Dalla for school trustee, the local radio personality.
I know Nimi Dalla.
Yeah, and her views are going to be extremely important for our community also. Emin Dillon, also a trustee. She's a scientist, works at UBC, worked on the COVID vaccine.
That's great.
And again, person. Masako Gooch, she's going through for a nurse, has a young family. Again, a good diversity insofar as representing our community. Murray Kask is a person who's been on many, many boards from North Delta and will bring good experience for the school trustees. Joe Mago is head of the School Trustee Association now, and a candidate last year, and now he's running with us. And he'll do an extremely good job, and has done a good job before. And Val Windsor, who is the current chair and been many years a school trustee, she is running with us, and she brings that experience and serving to leadership for the younger trustees that are just going through their first term. I always like the fact that when we have vacancies on council, and I like to look to the school trustees because they've gone through the political process and see if they're interested in taking on the challenge of being a councillor. So this is the best, as I mentioned before, the best team Delta has ever put together. It represents all our community, ages, diversity. So I'm very, very, very proud of it.
So definitely, as you name your team members over here, and we can figure out that all are from diverse background, different ethnicities. Uh, what was the selection criteria? How did you make up your mind that I have to pick these people from these, different parts of the field?
It was very difficult to talk to a lot of people, and some people just didn't want to take on the challenge. They don't like the social media. They don't like the fact that you can be targeted unfairly. Unfortunately, we've had our MP Carla Quattro. She's had to have security during the Twassen parade. I mean, that's what's scaring a lot of people off. Younger people, they can't afford it. Council pays about $60,000 a year. They can't give up a $100,000 a year job that helps them just pay the mortgage or rent. So those are the difficulties. But these people were chosen because they ticked all the boxes insofar as what their commitment to Delta is, what they believe insofar as our platform, and of course, what past interests have they done and shown that they care and volunteer in Delta.
It's a very common question, but it's a very tough question. Why should people vote for you? What changes have you made in cities' work, especially the inside work, when we are talking about building permits, changing of bylaws, building codes, or maybe tax reduction?
So I think people should vote for me as a leader of our team because, first of all, I'm only one vote at council. I need to have my team elected to get things done. We have a platform that we put out with regards to what we want to do over the next 4 years for improving our recreational facilities. It was my leadership that managed to get every child between grade 5 and grade 12 into our rec centers free. We're the only ones in Canada that do that. I've also reduced the rate for, they used to be super senior coming to our facilities for free. You had to be 85. Wasn't too many around. So we reduced it this time to 75. And I've received such good feedback from people. And when you're 75 and above, you've paid your taxes. You've paid a lot of money to Delta. So it's nice that we can give something back. My priorities is public safety. I'm chair of the police board. We have an extremely good police force. And when other cities in like Vancouver were it took out their community liaison officers from the schools, I said, and supported with my board, no way. It's important that our school trustees and the school boards and also the councils work together to ensure that our police departments remain strong. I will never, ever give up our police to go to a regional police. If it goes regional, Delta will just get the crumbs. We're at the end of the road. We will not get most of the problems, the police complement we put into areas of high crime. The only reason we don't have high crime is we got a good complement of police. We were the first police department in BC to use body cameras. That was a subject I was talking to today. And so I'm very proud of that, and we're staying current, and we want to keep our public safety. We're rated as one of the best places to live in Canada because of our public safety.
And when you're making your priorities, how you choose your priorities, is it based on the areas of that particular place? Like, as once again, yes, definitely you are talking about being one Delta, but still we're going to talk about North Delta and South Delta. There are different demographics, and maybe there are going to be different kind of priorities as well. So how you pick your priorities? I mean, if any.
Well, first of all, we have all candidates. We have 3 running for council from Twassen and Ladner. We have 3 running for council from North Delta. So those candidates, the reason they're selected is they need to be already active in their community. They need to bring what problems are right to the council table. Do
you think there is a difference between South and North Delta when we are talking about the building permits or providing them some kind of, information from the city?
Interesting, because we're getting close to 5,000 doors that we've knocked on so far. And overall, we're hearing very good compliments and just keep things going the way they are, keep the police strong. There's pockets of transportation problems, which we're looking at by putting in special speed reduction zones and things like that. But overall, they want us to keep going, keep improving, keep our taxes as low. We're still one of the lowest in the Lower Mainland. I don't believe in zero increases because all that does is put your bills off for another day. But I believe in having taxes that are fiscally prudent. And again, we'll be having some of the lowest taxes in the Lower Mainland. That's what I like to do. So with Achieving for Delta, we've got lots of things that we need to do. Talking about building permits, one disappointment I have in my term is that we weren't able to crack that. And that was because of COVID. and then we had people working from home. But we are committed to ensuring that our process for building permits and for development permits, they have to be reduced. We ask far too much from previous councils' requirements of what they want to see for first and second reading, what they want to see for third reading. It's too much. There's no guarantee to the developer or to the private home builder that they're actually going to get a variance. Yet they have to spend all that money. So I have it in my mind, and we have good knowledge of how we can reduce it. And I want to work with the province also on doing some changes to legislation to allow us to move things through faster. That doesn't mean it's going to be no consultation, but when you do the same project has 3 consultations, that's too much. We need to move forward, because at the end of the day, the longer it takes, the carrying charges are going to be increased, and it's going to result in a higher price of that unit. So that is my commitment, and I am going to get it done this time.
When we're talking about the safe community, there was a program of police licensing officers in the schools. Are you going to bring them back?
No, they're already there. We never took them out. Vancouver took them out, and that was because of the unfortunate situation that happened a couple of years ago down in the States. And that wave of defund the police came up here. And you saw what happened in Seattle. You saw what happened in Portland every night, the riots that were going on. We didn't. We kept our police strong. A lot of respect for our police.
But do you have enough police officers in the city?
We do. We have enough police officers. Yes, we do. And even though we had the Surrey influence of having some of our officers go through a good work of our police chief and our deputy police chief, we've had a very strong recruitment program, and we're doing fine. Now, every budget, we look at how we can improve the complement. And we like to do it slowly over the years, not doing 15 at once, which you can't do. And it's very hard to select really good police officers when you're rushed. So no, we're doing fine. And our statistics that are coming out and have come out show that we're doing really well, probably the best in BC.
How the challenges, it's just a neighboring city, Surrey and Delta, they both are neighboring cities. And how the challenges are different from Surrey and when we're talking about Delta, when the same, ethnicities are living in both the cities?
Well, the people that do crime know that the Delta police get a file, and they keep that file until that person's arrested. And we are not members of IHIT. We did that, I know, and I really feel for the officers that are involved in IHIT. It's a tough job. But when you're a policeman in Delta, you want to aspire to where you're actually solving these major cases, not handing the file over to someone else. And so we've been very good at our record is the tops insofar as cases closed, and they've done an extremely good job, but we need to ensure that our police are involved. And if it makes sense to share resources sometimes, like for dogs or for the anti-gang, we do that, and our officers will get seconded to those groups, get the experience, and come back and train our younger officers. So no, it's working very well, but and we've had the police department for well over 100 years. We are never, ever going to give it up.
You have a port in your city. You have international borders in your city, though it is not a very busy border. But how good are your relations with the federal government when you have different requirements, as you have to deal with the federal government in this case?
We take our trips to Ottawa, and the police chief has come with me a number of times, and we talked about our problems with regards to the illegal drugs coming in through the port. When you have all those containers, for them losing a container for the criminals and the gangs, it does make a big difference because they're getting many through. But we've had some good relationships and some good funding and good coordination with them. I'm totally satisfied with the fact that there used to be a port police, and that was removed. I still think we need police presence down there. Really do. And I'll keep pushing for that.
Mayor Harvie, there's no other full slate contesting in this election as far as the city of Delta is concerned. How do you see this, first of all? And second, do you think that it is a sign that you are going to, your victory is going to be more easy?
I don't take it as being easy at all. We've been working very strongly all year on this. And again, I participated in the door knocking, of course, and so we've done over 5,000 homes. I don't take anything for granted, and certainly our team doesn't either. It would be a privilege if any of us get elected, a real privilege to serve our city. But talking to other mayors, Mike Hurley in Burnaby and Brad West in Port Coquitlam, they have no challengers either. So There's a few of us that are don't have any challengers, but I want a challenger. And I said this before. It's important that the mayor is involved in the election, because once the mayor's not on the ballot, the public interest goes down.
But who is your biggest competitor in this case?
I don't know anybody yet. No, there isn't anybody. But I hope somebody does come forward, because I want to be involved in the active election.
But do residents give you a competition in this case when they give you some kind of feedback regarding your working or your team's last year working?
So for that almost 5,000 homes, the feedback that I've been getting, and the best feedback a politician can get, is at the door, face to face. And they see the real me, and I see the person is the taxpayer there. And it's been very positive. And people know Delta is a good place to live. And they believe in me that I will keep it going that way, along with a good team. Most important thing is that team.
And Mayor, what would you like to say in closing to the residents of Delta and people, those who are listening to you right now, those who have their relatives living in Delta?
Well, to all the Deltans, as we refer to ourselves, just like to say it's been a privilege and an honor to serve them for this 4 years. I look forward to the challenge of doing another 4 years. I'm asking for their consideration of putting me back into office, and we've got much more to do. And again, the emphasis is that we keep all of Delta strong. We're a great community. We were ranked in the top 50 by Maclean's magazine across Canada. I want to get to number 1, and I think we're pretty positive that a good push will get there.
That's great. Thank you so much, Mayor Harvie, and we wish you all the very best.
All the best to you too. Thank you, and to your listeners.